we're going to start with a bit of a quick icebreaker topic. Things that you love slash hate that your players do. I'll give an example. And then I'm going to point to one of our panelists and see what they got for us. I run a group that plays Strahd. There's a warlock that is Find Familiar, and I can't stand that owl. That owl ruins a lot of really fun things because every room that they go to, we're going to send the owl into. And then, well, there goes the surprise. I think he's on his 18th owl. I've managed to kill it 17 times. And because the owl only has one hit point. So sometimes it meets a creature that just ain't putting up with that kind of crap. And it kills the owl. And so that's something I'm really not a fan of. But it's fun, and the player loves it, and we kind of spar with each other about it too. Something I love that my players do is I love it when they create things as part of their characters that I get to then take and put into the story for them. And sometimes it ends up kind of flipping their idea around, and they're like, what? Holy cow, I never thought about that idea, or whatever kind of thing. So I love when my players give me something that I can make something with. It's a little bit of meat on the bone, so to speak. How about you? Let's start with Haley. Haley, something you love or hate that your players do?
Something that it's a double-edged sword. Kind of like your owl thing is that I love it when my players get really into character. Like really into character. They do the accent. They know the backstory really, really well. They have the mindset of their character. And it's so much fun to play off of and riff with those people who are really, really into it. The reason it's a bad thing is because sometimes they get so lost in that hole that I feel like they forget that it's kind of a game. So it becomes very serious, and they're like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I'm literally married to you? Like, you lay next to me? Could you not be mad at me right now? You're the one that chose to do that.
Sure.
So in that regard, it's a lot of fun to have that deep role play and RP experience, but it can be hard to pull people back out of it when it's done.
Yeah, excellent. I got one group that I played with that we were playing the other night, and I realized I haven't said anything for like 25 minutes. Just been these characters talking back and forth to each other, and awesome, but at the same time, we got stuff to do, and so
that's, I don't want to spend the entire day here.
Yeah, that's the teacher in me being like, come on, we got things we got to accomplish here, but
there is a curriculum here.
Exactly. Exactly. You're gonna get marked at the end of it all. Thank you, Haley. Let's go to Sean. Something you love or hate that your players do.
I've got a group of guys that we've played with for a while, and the one guy has a cabin, so we give the wives a break and we all go away for a weekend. And they love it because a couple of them have said, no, you can stay an extra day. But we got up there, and it's like a 4.5 hour drive. There is no internet service. You're up at the cabin. It's just us. And so I have to prep everything that I could potentially think they're going to do. And what I hate is when these guys will get up there, and I have played with them many a time, they never want to stay in town. Never. Give them something to get out of town. Town is too confining for them. There's rules. One time we went up there, and they've done this in smaller bits, but I planned out 4 entire story arcs, and they chose number 5, which was let's stay in town.
Yeah. Sure enough.
And I am 4.5 hours away from any other of my resources.
Oh my gosh.
And I ended up doing it, and I love it when my players challenge me. I'm not giving them the challenge. They threw this back on me, and this one session, and it turned into about 15 hours worth of playing. And about 10 of it was straight. The one where I literally, in a 60-second description of a room that one of the players was in, everything in my head clicked, and I had the rest of the weekend's game planned out. I love it when they can challenge me, and I can prove to myself that I'm still good enough at DM that they can't throw me. I can still do this. And they were totally amazed, totally, until it was the end of the weekend. We were all packing up to leave, and they were asking, how could you have gotten something so amazing? I said, I didn't. I said, we weren't supposed to do that.
Awesome.
I said, but they never realized it wasn't a pre-planned adventure for them. And so I thank them I love it when they challenge me, and I hate it when it's like, oh, you have to pick an option. I'm pretty good at, but you had to pick an option that doesn't exist. Okay.
Yeah. Nice. All right, Allie, what about you? Is something you love and hate that your players do?
Well, one of the new things, because my table is a bunch of cats that I'm trying to herd into D&D on occasion, and their new thing is that they'll be playing Smash, because we've been playing online, and they'll be playing Smash in the middle of RPing. Two of them will be playing Smash with each other.
Oh my god!
And I'm just like, and so somebody in our other server will be like, "Hey, I see you guys are in Smash. Do you guys have a room?" And I'm like, "Why are you guys playing Smash?"
Yeah.
And like the thing is that we're all a little bit distractible, so having two things. But D&D makes me focus so much that I'm like, no, you guys aren't allowed to have other stimuli. You guys have to be fully focused.
Yeah.
And to the point where our in-person session we had, they're like sitting there, I'm in the middle of describing a scene, and then one of them pulls out some cards that we have for an in-game mechanic, Cardic Inspiration. Pulls out some cards to start playing Go Fish with another player. And I see him start distributing the hands, and I just reach over and I take the hands, and then I put my hand out, and he gives me the deck, and I'm like, thank you. But
that sounds like something I would have done. I mean, that's like 20 years of my life wrapped up right there in that moment. Okay, give me that. Give me that. It's going to my desk. Yeah.
I commend you for not losing your mind in that moment.
I'm just like,
I would have lost my damn mind.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is that I'm ADD, I understand, so I'm like, okay, as long as you guys aren't yelling, doing your whole insane bit, and you guys are paying attention, I don't care, but don't let me find out about it, and don't do it directly in front of me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we have whole groups like that we call them squirrel dudes, because they're just squirrels, like in our West March. They're just...
What's that? What's that? It's
like,
it's my turn now.
Oh my god, I had this dream about this. Like, thank you. This has nothing to do with it. But, something I love is that, especially having the West March, is I love RP. I love when the people, like he said, get into character. And to the point where I have this DMPC, and my friend who is the main DM for the West March, that they just click together really well. And so there was a lot of RP happening there out of game, just us being out of game, being like, listen, we got to RP this out. Yeah. And then the players being like, I really want to do this RP, or the players coming to me and say, hey, I have this bouncy castle. You want to play in this bouncy castle with me and do this RP? And I'm just like, yeah, let's do this. Just like people being so excited to do RP, because I'm a very RP heavy DM, so I'm like, yes, this is the good stuff.
Awesome. Yep. Let's end with Kyle. Kyle, something you love or hate that your players do?
There's one recent thing that I absolutely adored was actually piggybacking on your thing where you get to pull backstory in. the world that we created, there was this whole thing that was happening so that like there was no planar travel, so no necromancy from the negative energy plane or healing from the positive energy plane or summoning from the Fey, anything like that for like 1,000 years. And then just 10 years ago, it sort of popped open again. So now people are discovering all these new things. There was something called, so when he created his character, it was called a Reaper, and he wanted to play someone undead, and so he modified some things. And when I do a session 0, I force my characters to justify every single character decision, because I'm all about like, I do not want you to like show up and be like, well, I just took this and it doesn't make any damn sense. I'm like, no, pull it together, please. And so he wanted to do this, and so we actually had to alter the lore of the entire world and created this entity called the Ferryman. And because souls couldn't get to the outer plane, they needed something, and his job was to mark dead bodies throughout the world so that the Ferryman could identify them and take them, because he was the only entity powerful enough to actually get through this blockade, right? And so I was sitting there thinking, I was like, what can I do with this story that would be interesting and cool and actually create some cool role play? And what we decided was, what I decided is we were going to do that. It was actually the goddess of love that created the Ferryman, because she didn't want souls to be separated forever. She wanted them to be able to go. And there was this huge cataclysm, and essentially all thousands of people had a choice when the various worlds that were coming together were being destroyed, to actually like choose to become reapers so that there would be people to do this. But they gave up all their memories, they gave up their lives, all that kind of stuff. And in this moment, I did like a TPK with the entire party, and which was a great dramatic moment where everyone was like, oh my God, what's going on? And then the Ferryman actually comes, saves them, takes them to the goddess of love, who is like, well, the world's opened up, I don't need the Ferryman anymore. So now Dill, the name of the Reaper, who was created by the Ferryman, then had to make the choice as to whether to follow the goddesses of love's directive and actually kill the being that created him, because she needed the energy back to do something else. And it was this whole, like, there was like this beautiful, like 45-minute role play where he was just having this insane moral dilemma about, the love he had for this thing that had created him and his 1,000-year-long mentor. And it was just, so anytime I get to like really create a situation that puts characters in an emotional vice that forces them to really get into it, it makes my heart sing. The thing that I can't stand is when I get players that forget that this is fun. And I know as DMs we've all experienced this, and we do weekly on our channel, we do a thing called and I don't want to curse, but it's shitty rolls. And it's all about, it's how to fall down fabulously. And it's just all about the fact that like when the rolls don't go our way, we, a lot of times we'll get like just gross about it. Like we'll get all down and upset, and it brings the energy at the table down, and there's no reason for it. So it's just all about how do you keep the energy up? And like if you crit fail like a dexterity save or something like that, why don't you tell me the story about how you're supposed to be amazing at this, but you ended up getting yeeted into a wall, because you tripped on your own shoelace. Like there is, why don't we have that? And so, but it's when players just get so invested in the dice rolls instead of the story, like they get invested in winning the scene instead of playing the scene. Right?
Yeah, because the dice rolls are they're the vehicle for the story. And a 1 can mean many things. A 20 can mean many things.
Oh yeah.
And it's all about how the DM and the players kind of take that role and now turn it into, and so what happens next.
Yeah, well, and I now force my characters anytime there's a crit either way, and I now do this with like crit successes and crit fails on both on saves and on investigation, like skill checks and stuff like that. Tell me the story. Why was this? Why were you so good at this? What happened in your childhood that gave you insight into this amazing historical thing? Like your parents brought you here when you were 6, and now you know everything about it because you fell in love with it when you were a kid. They just stuff like that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that if they roll a nat 1 or if they roll a nat 20, I'm like, okay, what were you planning on doing? And I either describe how they stumble into it, and they like nat 1s are just you make a fool of yourself. But, like, and sometimes it'll be a like success from a failure too. Like if like they're doing a dex save to like misstepping on something or something like that, or mistripping over something, it's like, okay, yeah, you trip on it, but also you end up like doing a somersault, scraping your head on the ground, and then kind of somehow landing on your feet again, and
you
being
do
like, I
1d2
totally need to do
damage.
that.
Yeah, the idea of failing forward, right? Like failure does not mean that it didn't happen. It just didn't happen quite how you expected it.
I remember we had one that I adored that was just like they got a crit fail on a history check, and so they had the information. They were like reading the book, and they had the information, and they got this crit fail, and so we decided that they're a conspiracy theorist, and that's why even with the information right in front of them, they got everything so wrong.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.